The movie begins with a scientist named Dr. Jeff Burton arriving in Germany from the United States. He then takes a train to the city of Dresden while thinking about memories of his ex-wife. The next day, Jeff visits the Max Planck Institute of Molecular Cell Biology and Genetics. There, he meets the director of the institute, Dr. Samuel Mead, who welcomes him warmly and gives him a tour of the building. It turns out that Jeff has been invited to join the research team, so Samuel is very happy to have him there. During their talk, we learn that Jeff will continue his work on embryonic genetics at the Dresden Institute. It is also hinted that Jeff chose to move here after problems with research funding back in the US because of a tragic personal loss. After that, Dr. Samuel introduces Jeff to another scientist named Rebecca, who was once Jeff's intern, and both are happy to meet again after many years. In the hallway, Jeff also runs into another scientist named Jarek Novak, who is carrying laboratory mice. That night, Jeff talks with his ex-wife Sarah, who has already started a new life with someone else. He is heartbroken to learn that she is pregnant, but he acts happy for her even though it is obvious he still loves her. He then remembers the painful time when their baby son was very sick in the hospital while both parents were overwhelmed with grief. The next day, during a small gathering, Samuel officially welcomes Jeff to the institute and praises how his research on embryonic defects became well known at a university in the United States. Jeff then gives a speech and explains the work he has continued over the years. He reveals that his infant son suffered from dangerous tumor growth caused by a rare genetic disease, which brought the child terrible pain and nearly killed him. Jeff named the illness Burton syndrome and has devoted all of his research to studying it ever since his son died. Later, while Jeff is eating lunch, Jarek approaches him, introduces himself properly, and shows admiration for Jeff's work. He suggests that they should work together because he has also been researching similar ideas. Jarek even invites Jeff out for drinks that evening, but before they can continue talking, Rebecca calls Jeff away. Later on, Jeff and Rebecca take a walk outside and talk about their past. Jeff admits that he has followed her scientific work for years and is impressed by everything she has achieved. It is also revealed that Rebecca was the person who convinced Samuel to invite Jeff to the institute. Afterward, Rebecca brings Jeff to her laboratory and shows him experiments involving axolotl salamanders, animals famous for regrowing lost body parts. She calls this regenerative ability the Easter gene. Rebecca explains that she has managed to copy some of these healing effects into mammal cells, although only in limited ways so far. She suggests that the two of them could work together to eventually bring these regenerative powers to other animals and possibly even humans. Before leaving, Rebecca invites Jeff to her apartment that evening so they can discuss the project further, and he agrees. In the evening, Jeff buys a bottle of wine before going to Rebecca's apartment, but on the way, Jarek approaches him and offers him a ride. Jeff refuses at first, but after Jarek keeps insisting, he finally agrees and gets into the car. Jarek asks where he is going, but Jeff says he has some work to do and avoids mentioning Rebecca. During the drive, Jarek explains that he and Jeff are similar because both are willing to take risks and do whatever is necessary. He talks about his idea called a viral vector and suggests that instead of mosquitoes spreading diseases like malaria, they could be genetically changed to carry vaccines or antigenes directly into humans through bites. He says this could be used in Africa and argues that since people are going to get bitten anyway, they might as well receive a malaria vaccine from it. However, Jeff finds the idea highly unethical, so he gets out of the car. Before Jeff leaves, Jarek tells him to say hello to Rebecca for him. Later, Jeff arrives at Rebecca's apartment and asks her about Jarek and why he acts so strangely, but she says she barely speaks to him. The two then enjoy a nice dinner together, and Rebecca asks Jeff to join her research project, which he agrees to do. However, the mood changes when they begin talking about Jeff's dead son. Rebecca says she admires how Jeff used his son's case as inspiration for his research, but this only upsets him. Jeff explains that he has not published any work in 4 years and that his university was threatening to cut his funding. Since his son's illness was the only case he had access to, he felt forced to study it. Rebecca understands his feelings, but Jeff becomes emotional and leaves angrily. That night, Jeff struggles to sleep because he is haunted by memories of his son's death. Later, he goes to the institute and tries to leave an apology note under the door of Rebecca's lab. However, he suddenly notices a researcher secretly entering the lab and stealing something. Jeff quickly follows the man and eventually discovers Jarek's hidden laboratory filled with mice, where he realizes the researcher is actually Jarek's assistant. The assistant worries that Rebecca may notice the missing samples, but Jarek says she has so many that she will never miss a few. Jeff is shocked to learn that Yarrick has been secretly using stolen material from Rebecca's lab for his own experiments. Hidden in the shadows, Jeff watches as Yarrick injects DNA into mice using syringes. Soon after, Yarrick and his assistant leave the laboratory, giving Jeff the chance to sneak inside. He steals a sample of Rebecca's serum from Yarrick's refrigerator and also takes one of the genetically modified mice. However, Jeff becomes distracted, and during the confusion, the mouse bites his hand. Jeff ignores the injury and quickly leaves the lab with both the mouse and the sample. While leaving the building, he runs into Yarrick and his assistant, who ask why he is there so late at night, but Jeff simply says he had some work to finish. Later, Jeff rushes back to his apartment, where he places the serum inside the refrigerator and watches the mouse carefully. This reminds him of the painful days when his young son was seriously ill, while Sarah struggled to stay emotionally strong. It becomes clear that after their son died, Jeff buried himself completely in his scientific research, which slowly destroyed his marriage and eventually caused his wife to leave him. In the present, Jeff studies the mouse but cannot understand what Yarrick has done to it. While he is watching it, the mouse suddenly slips from his hands, and as Jeff tries to catch it, he accidentally cuts its tail with a can, making the animal bleed. The next morning, Jeff arrives at work and sees Yarrick with Samuel, who explains that the discovery of the Easter gene belongs to both Rebecca and Yarrick. Samuel asks Jeff to work together with them because he believes it could become the greatest scientific discovery of their time. However, Jeff feels uncomfortable with the idea, so he later speaks privately with Samuel and shares his concerns about Yarrick, saying he does not trust him. Samuel replies that Yarrick is highly talented and tells Jeff to put his personal feelings aside and cooperate with the team. Later, Jeff goes to talk with Rebecca and once again asks her about Yarrick, but she insists that they barely speak anymore. Jeff asks if she and Yarrick were ever romantically involved, but she denies it. He also mentions Samuel's comment that the Easter gene originally belonged to both of them, so Rebecca explains that they only worked together during the early stages of the project. According to her, Yarrick became controlling and difficult to work with, which eventually pushed her to threaten quitting the research. Because of this, Samuel allowed her to continue the work on her own. Jeff then shows her the sample Yarrick stole from her laboratory and says he used it on a mouse. Jeff suggests reporting him to Samuel, but Rebecca says she will deal with the problem herself, which surprises him. Later, Jeff steps outside for a cigarette and again remembers the painful days when his son was hospitalized. The child's body had become covered with huge tumors, and even the doctors could not understand what disease he had. Back in the present, Jeff notices another tense argument between Rebecca and Yarrick, making him suspect there may still be something between them. After returning home, Jeff injects the Easter gene serum into the injured mouse, hoping the treatment will heal it. Soon after, someone rings the doorbell, and Jeff discovers that it is Rebecca. She appears slightly drunk and invites him to attend a costume party so he can relax and forget about work for a while. Jeff first refuses because he says he still has work to do, but after Rebecca continues insisting, he finally agrees to go with her. Later, while Rebecca applies makeup to Jeff for the party, he continues warning her about Yarrick, claiming he is trying to steal her research and secretly experiment on the mouse. Rebecca tells him that she can handle Yarrick herself and asks Jeff to stop discussing work because she wants to enjoy feeling normal for once. A moment later, she suddenly kisses him passionately. Jeff briefly kisses her back before pulling away. Rebecca reminds him that she is no longer his intern and says they are free to do whatever they want. Jeff then awkwardly asks why she invited him there and whether she wants something more than just a work partnership. He admits that he finds her attractive but says he does not have romantic feelings for her. Hurt by his words, Rebecca tells him to get dressed so they can leave. In the next scene, they arrive at the costume party, where many of their co-workers are celebrating together. Rebecca dances and enjoys herself, while Jeff remains distracted and uncomfortable. He heads to the bar for a drink, but before long he notices yet another heated argument between Rebecca and Yarrick, making it seem as though the two are fighting over something serious. Later, Jeff follows Yarrick into the bathroom, where Yarrick demands that Jeff return the mouse. Jeff becomes angry and threatens to tell Samuel that Yarrick stole Rebecca's research. However, Yarrick argues that in the end, the discovery itself matters more than the person who made it. Jeff says he knows Yarrick has been experimenting on the mouse and demands to know exactly what he did to it. Yarrick refuses to explain and sarcastically tells Jeff to wait until his research paper is published. Their argument quickly turns violent, and during the fight, Jeff's head is slammed into a mirror, leaving him bleeding badly. After that, Yarrick finally walks away. Jeff later returns to the party, where where Rebecca notices the injury on his head and asks him what happened. Later on, Rebecca takes Jeff back to her apartment, where she carefully cleans and bandages the wound on his forehead. While resting there, Jeff suddenly experiences a disturbing vision of Sarah lying in a bathtub. She appears to be pregnant, and Jeff moves closer to her, but she seems deeply upset and almost suicidal. Jeff tries desperately to stop her from drowning, but then horrifying white mice suddenly begin crawling out of the wound on his forehead. A moment later, Jeff wakes up from the nightmare in shock. He then walks into another room, where Rebecca is asleep. Jeff wakes her up and starts kissing her, and although surprised at first, Rebecca kisses him back. The two eventually sleep together. The following morning, Jeff discovers a large collection of files in Rebecca's apartment containing information about his old research and published work. He starts reading through the papers, but when Rebecca catches him looking through her private things, she becomes angry at him for invading her privacy. Jeff then brings up how he has repeatedly seen her with Yarek and says it feels like something suspicious is happening between them. This only makes Rebecca more upset, and she finally admits that she and Yarek briefly had a romantic relationship in the past, although she insists it was never serious. She then angrily reminds Jeff that during the night, he accidentally called her Sarah while they were being intimate, but Jeff dismisses it by saying he was confused and half asleep. Jeff insults her for getting involved with someone like Yarek, which leads Rebecca to confront him about abandoning her years earlier. In a shocking revelation, it turns out that Jeff and Rebecca secretly had an affair years ago when he was still her university professor. Jeff had promised that he would leave his wife for her, but he never kept that promise. Jeff argues that everything happened a long time ago and says she should move on from the past, but this deeply hurts Rebecca, and she angrily throws him out of her apartment. Later, Jeff tries calling Sarah, but her new husband answers the phone instead. This makes Jeff furious, and he angrily demands to speak with his ex-wife. When Jeff finally returns to his apartment, he discovers that the door is already open and the entire place has been searched through and destroyed. Jeff quickly realizes that Yarek was probably responsible, but he is relieved to discover that Yarek never found the mouse. Jeff soon notices that the mouse's injured tail has completely grown back and all its wounds have healed. However, he is horrified to see that the animal's body is now covered with countless tumors. At this point, Jeff realizes that Yarek did not simply change the mouse's genetics, but that the changes were caused through a virus-based method called a viral vector, the same idea Yarek had talked about earlier. The wound on his forehead has healed completely, but strange tumors have now started growing on his face as well. Filled with panic and anger, Jeff rushes to the research facility, where he apologizes to Rebecca and tells her he desperately needs her help. Rebecca remains cold toward him at first, but after Jeff keeps begging, she finally agrees to listen. Jeff brings her into a laboratory and asks her to run blood tests on him. He explains that a mouse bit him and says he believes he has been infected with some kind of virus. Rebecca initially refuses to believe this because the lab mice are supposed to be completely free of disease, but Jeff pleads with her to trust him. Soon after, Jeff storms off to confront Yarek and immediately attacks him in anger. He accuses Yarek of infecting him on purpose, and the two begin fighting violently. Rebecca quickly calls Samuel for help. When Samuel arrives and demands an explanation, Jeff claims that Yarek infected him, while Yarek argues that Jeff caused the situation himself. Jeff becomes convinced that all of them planned everything from the beginning so the mouse would bite him and turn him into a human test subject. At that moment, Yarek notices that Jeff's forehead injury has completely healed without leaving any scar. Instead of being worried, Yarek becomes excited because this proves that the Easter gene works on humans. Jeff, however, grows even more paranoid and believes everyone around him, including Samuel and Rebecca, secretly betrayed him for the experiment. Yarek proudly calls it the greatest discovery of their generation, but Jeff angrily points out that it is not really a cure. He explains that if healing has been accelerated, then tumor growth has also become faster, and he fears he will soon die because of it. When Samuel learns that the virus can spread through blood, he panics and locks Jeff inside the laboratory to stop any possible infection. Rebecca tries desperately to defend Jeff and screams for them to let him go, but the others hold her back. Despite this, Jeff manages to escape from the lab and runs away from the facility. Rebecca follows after him and begs him to come with her, but Jeff refuses to listen. At this moment, Rebecca finally reveals a shocking secret. After learning about Jeff's sixth son years ago, she secretly requested tissue samples from the child and used them to create the original genetic sequence for her Easter gene research. She explains that she only did this because she still loved Jeff and wanted to help him continue his work. Tragically, Jeff has now developed the same Burton syndrome that killed his son. Rebecca explains that rapid healing and uncontrollable tumor growth are actually connected and are two parts of the same process. Hearing this truth devastates Jeff, and he feels deeply betrayed that Rebecca kept this from him for so long. In a confused and emotional state, he runs away into the city. As time passes, Jeff's condition becomes much worse. He vomits while wandering through the streets, and more tumors begin appearing across his body. He also keeps remembering painful moments from the hospital, where his son suffered terribly with tumors covering his body. By nighttime, Jeff becomes extremely weak and eventually hides with a homeless man for shelter. Realizing that he may soon die, Jeff calls Sarah and leaves her an apology message, but it only reaches her voicemail. Afterward, he burns his phone and eventually cuts his wrists because he can no longer endure the pain. In the next scene, Jeff wakes up in a hospital bed and is shocked to discover that his body has somehow returned to normal. The tumors are gone, and he has been completely healed. Samuel tells him that he is now perfectly healthy and calls his recovery a miracle in medical science. Jeff asks where she is, and Samuel points toward Rebecca nearby, but Jeff quietly explains that he was actually asking about Sarah. Later, Rebecca visits Jeff and explains that Burton syndrome appears to be caused by an endogenous retrovirus already present inside all humans. In Jeff and his son, however, the virus slightly mutated and became active, leading to the dangerous disease. Jeff somehow survived the process, and his body eventually healed itself completely. Still, Rebecca cannot understand why Jeff's son never recovered from the illness, which leaves Jeff emotionally shattered. In the film's final and darkest twist, it is revealed that Jeff himself smothered his infant son with a pillow because he could not bear to watch the child continue suffering and believed there was no possible cure. In the final scene, Jeff quietly claims that he still does not know how his son truly died, but Rebecca finally realizes the terrible truth and breaks down in tears.